Chaos has exploded through Westminster tonight as a political firestorm erupts with a force no one saw coming. Moments ago, MPs triggered a no-confidence vote against Prime Minister Keir Starmer after a Brexit betrayal so shocking, so explosive, that even his closest allies are now scrambling for cover. What started as whispers in dark corridors has detonated into a full-scale rebellion threatening to bring down his entire premiership. Inside number 10, tempers are boiling, loyalties are shattering, and the future of Britain hangs by a thread. This is the night the political landscape cracks open, and the fallout will be felt across the whole nation. Westminster has descended into absolute turmoil tonight as the full magnitude of Prime Minister Keir Starmer's alleged Brexit betrayal explodes into public view, shaking the foundations of Parliament in a way few moments in modern British politics ever have. Just hours ago, MPs from across the political spectrum quietly gathered signatures, whispered in corners, and moved with the urgency of people preparing for a crisis they could no longer ignore. Then, in a dramatic and irreversible step, they submitted a formal no-confidence motion, the political equivalent of pulling the emergency brake on a government speeding toward disaster. Inside number 10, the atmosphere has reportedly turned volcanic. Aides describe Starmer erupting in fury, pacing back and forth, slamming folders onto tables, demanding answers as the shocking truth becomes impossible to hide. The rebellion is not coming from the fringes, but from the heart of his own party. Even Labour loyalists, people who defended him through scandals, missteps and bitter debates, are now calling this the ultimate betrayal. The leaked documents circulating among MPs have ignited outrage like petrol on open flame. They reveal months of quiet back-channel discussions between Starmer's inner circle and European officials. Discussions that many now claim threaten to undo core elements of Brexit without any mandate, transparency or public debate. The reaction was immediate and devastating. MPs who represent Brexit-heavy regions, the very communities Labour once lost and then fought desperately to win back, feel blindsided, humiliated and politically exposed. Reports say their phones are buzzing non-stop with furious messages from constituents who believe their democratic choice is being quietly erased. In Westminster's narrow corridors, the tension is electrifying. Every conversation is whispered, every glance is suspicious, and every MP knows the next 24 hours may determine not only Starmer's future, but their own political survival. Meanwhile, Conservatives are celebrating quietly, framing this crisis as proof that Labour cannot be trusted with Brexit or with the nation's future. Reform UK is mobilising support, seizing the moment to fuel public outrage. Even within Labour, senior figures are refusing to appear on television, unwilling to defend a leader they now believe kept them in the dark. Inside Downing Street, the mood grows darker by the minute. Advisors are scrambling, running from room to room, drafting emergency statements, making frantic calls, trying and failing to calm a storm that has already grown far too large to contain. The Prime Minister's explanation, offered through clipped statements and careful wording, is falling flat. MPs have read the documents themselves. They see the details, they see the intent, and they see a leader who appears to have crossed a red line many believe must never be crossed without the consent of the people. Outside Parliament, social media is erupting. Hashtags demanding Starmer's resignation have surged to the top of every platform. News channels have cancelled scheduled broadcasts to cover the unfolding crisis. Analysts say the government has entered the most dangerous moment of its tenure. One where trust has not merely weakened, it has shattered completely. And as the night deepens, one truth becomes undeniable. Starmer is fighting not just for his leadership, but for the very legitimacy of his premiership. The country is watching, Parliament is restless, and the countdown to the no-confidence vote has already begun. The chamber was already tense, but no one expected what happened next. As Nigel Farage rose to speak, the atmosphere shifted instantly. Cameras zoomed in. MPs braced themselves because whenever Farage steps up, he doesn't just make a statement, he triggers a shockwave. And today, that shockwave detonated right in front of the Prime Minister. Farage began his address slowly, almost calmly. But beneath that calm, you could feel the pressure building. He accused the government of losing grip, of ignoring public anger, of pushing the country toward breaking point. And with each line, murmurs echoed across the chamber. Some MPs leaned forward, others froze. Then Farage delivered the line that changed the whole debate, a line so sharp, so direct that the room literally erupted. He said that under Starmer's leadership, the country was sliding into crisis and that the British public was being left voiceless, powerless and dangerously unheard. Instant chaos. Starmer, normally calculated and composed, snapped his head up, his expression tightened. He shuffled his notes, clearly irritated. The Prime Minister attempted to interject, but Farage pushed harder, speaking over the noise, forcing the debate to escalate beyond anything seen that week. "What are you doing to fix this?" Farage pressed. "Why is every warning ignored? And how long before Britain says enough?" Starmer finally fired back, but not with precision, rather with visible frustration. His tone rose, his responses grew sharper, faster, more emotional. The calm exterior cracked, and MPs on both sides noticed it immediately. The Speaker repeatedly called for order. It didn't work. The chamber spiralled into a shouting match, one that felt less like a debate and more like a battlefield. Starmer accused Farage of fueling division, of misleading the public, even of whipping up unnecessary panic. But Farage stood firm, using every interruption as fuel. Outside Parliament, reaction was immediate. Clips of the confrontation went viral within minutes. Social feeds lit up. Commentators were stunned at how quickly Starmer lost composure. Some praised Farage for voicing what many citizens feel. Others criticised the clash as political theatre in its rawest form. Inside the chamber, MPs exchanged wide-eyed glances. Rarely does a debate turn into a full-scale eruption. But today was different. Today showed a Prime Minister cornered and an opponent who knew exactly where to strike. As the shouting continued, the Speaker threatened to suspend the session. Reporters outside scrambled to decode the moment. Analysts called it one of the most explosive exchanges of the year. And for good reason, because this wasn't just confrontation, this was a warning shot, one that signalled deeper tensions rising across the country, one that showed a PM struggling to maintain control, and a political figure newly empowered stepping into the spotlight exactly when the nation is questioning its direction. Farage didn't just spark an emergency debate, he lit a fire, one that now burns far beyond Parliament's walls, and what unfolded next shocked even seasoned political observers. But the explosion inside the Commons was only the beginning. What happened after the emergency debate moved the entire situation into uncharted territory. As MPs spilled out of the chamber, the atmosphere was thick with disbelief. Some whispered that the Prime Minister hadn't just lost his composure, he had lost control of the narrative. Others insisted the clash with Farage exposed a growing divide between the government and the public mood. Within minutes, journalists surrounded MPs leaving the room. Every microphone carried the same question. Why did Starmer snap? Some MPs dodged. Others gave carefully worded answers, but a few admitted, off camera, that the exchange hit nerves inside the government. Farage's challenge had struck at the heart of public frustration, and Starmer's reaction only amplified it. Meanwhile, political analysts gathered on live broadcasts to dissect every second of the confrontation. They replayed the clip where Starmer raised his voice. They slowed down the moment his expression tightened. They highlighted the split second where Farage smirked, sensing he had landed a blow, and the reaction online? Immediate, brutal, divided. Supporters of Farage framed the moment as proof that the Prime Minister cannot handle pressure. Supporters of Starmer argued Farage was provoking chaos on purpose. But regardless of the side, one thing was clear. The confrontation dominated the entire national conversation. Then something unexpected happened. A senior government spokesperson attempted to calm the situation by issuing a late-night statement. It claimed the Prime Minister was simply passionate about defending the facts. But instead of easing tensions, the statement fueled new waves of commentary. Critics called it defensive, supporters called it necessary, but no one could deny it felt like damage control. Farage, meanwhile, continued speaking long after the chamber had emptied. Reporters flocked around him as he issued another fiery response, repeating that he simply said what millions are thinking. His comments were clipped, reposted, remixed, and circulated non-stop. By dawn, one phrase trended across multiple platforms. Starmer lost it. Opposing voices countervaired with Farage provoked it. And in between these two camps sat the British public, watching leaders collide in real time. But the fallout went even further. Local councils, political commentators, and community groups all weighed in. Some warned that heightened confrontations like this could deepen national frustration. Others argued it might finally force a long overdue conversation about leadership, direction, and accountability. Inside Westminster, however, tension escalated sharply. Rumours began circulating that senior party members wanted an urgent internal briefing on how the PM handled the debate. Some insiders, according to journalists, privately worried that confrontations like this could snowball into larger political challenges. And for the Prime Minister, the pressure didn't stop. Every interview he attempted shifted back to that same moment. His raised voice, his frustration, his break in composure, it overshadowed other announcements. It drowned out official statements. It became the headline dominating the entire political landscape. But the most striking development came when a leaked internal memo, claimed by some outlets to be from a party strategist, suggested that the confrontation handed Farage a larger platform at a critical moment. Whether true or not, the memo added fuel to the fire, becoming another talking point in an already burning situation. By the end of the day, the political atmosphere had transformed completely. What started as a routine parliamentary session had evolved into one of the most dramatic political flashpoints of the year. Farage's sharp challenge, Starmer's visible frustration, the chamber erupting, the country reacting. This wasn't a one-day story anymore. This was a moment that shifted momentum, reshaped narratives, and exposed the pressure lines running through the government. And as night fell and analysts gathered for yet another round of commentary, one question echoed across every studio, every feed, every conversation. What happens next? Because one thing is certain, the aftermath of this clash is far from over.